Welcome back to episode 21 of the Northern Steel Podcast. This podcast is now of legal age to drink. And
to drink.
Other things you can do at 21. What else can you do at 21?
Honestly, 21, you can gamble in some states. It's not always 18.
Well, hey, look at that. Drinking and Gambling, Northern Steel Podcast. I'm your host, Dominic. This is, as always, my brother, Christopher. We are
hello.
In the thick of it. Preseason has begun.
Into the thick of it.
Okay, no. Not that.
What?
We're ready for some preseason action, Chris. What we're going to do on today's episode is we're going to detail our preview our game coming up against the Seattle Seahawks for preseason.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of players to watch. If you have been following along with training camp battles or with our podcast in general, we are very excited to watch the first preseason game. There's tons and tons and tons of players to watch. I will detail them out later for you. Enough players to watch where you should be engaged the entire game, which is awesome. You don't need to shut it off after the first quarter or halftime. The whole game should be fun to watch. But first, let's talk about some NFL news. What do you think about that?
Let's do it. Bring it up.
Okay. All right, there is no NFL news. However, there is one thing that people talked about a lot online, and this week, I guess it's kind of NFL news, but mostly it does relate to the Steelers, is that Roquan Smith for the Chicago Bears wants to be traded out of Chicago. He had a big, giant letter that he posted on Twitter and his Instagram, I believe, detailing how contract negotiations are not going anywhere at all with the Bears, even though he's made second All-Pro a lot. He leads their whole team in tackles, and he feels disrespected. He feels appreciative of the Bears for playing for them, but he wants to move on. He wants to go. I read that the GM wants to he wants to keep him, obviously, because it's Roquan Smith. He's good. But Roquan wants to go. Now, of course, that means they could still find a way to keep him. That's what happened to Debo. Debo took months and months saying how he was going to leave the Niners. He was never going to play for the Niners again. Then he signed a 3-year contract like 2 weeks ago. So, that could happen. Roquan could stay.
Uh-huh.
But with him being available, of course, that brings out all the Yinzers to start talking about should the Steelers trade for Roquan Smith. And I got news for you guys. You might be thinking, yes, we should. Chris and I are in the minority in saying that, I don't know.
Listen.
Tell them why.
I will admit, I think the idea of getting Roquan Smith into the black and gold, it's a really sexy idea, right? Like, to have him paired up to Myles Jack would be awesome, and I feel like it would bring so much more confidence to that linebacker room. But just wait, right? Because there's a couple things that play its part within the Roquan Smith trade. A couple things being that we don't know what kind of draft capital that we might have to give up, the kind of players that we have that we might have to trade along with it. And then also, not to speak on this, but the contract that's coming up for him, right? Like, he has one more year left on his rookie contract. And then if he keeps up this level of play, being an all-pro linebacker, the dude's going to be expecting a very big payday. And I personally feel like our money needs to be going elsewhere on the team. Like, we already are the highest paid defense in the entire NFL, right? Mm-hmm. But now look at our offense, right? Like, yes, we just gave DJ a payday, so that's might boost us up, not as the last paid position, but like, we're already investing a ton of money into our defense. I have personal faith in Devin Bush to have a bounce back year, especially, with the upgraded defensive line, upgraded coaching staff with Coach Flo, being paired next to a guy like Myles Jack rather than being Robert Spillane or whoever else guy that we probably have had. So, I mean, I get it. Roquan Smith is such an appealing player, and it would be so cool to have him on the team. However, I just don't think it's feasible, and it's there's a lot to consider other than just doing like a straight up trade, like how some Yinzers I feel like have been doing. They're like Devin Bush for Roquan Smith 1-for-1. I'm like, bro, this dude just came off an ACL and his worst season ever. Do you really think the Bears are going to be like, yeah, let's do that? That's a good idea. I don't know, Dom. What are your thoughts?
No, I the thing is I agree with you completely. But let's play devil's advocate on it, and I'll try to do the opposite argument for people who want Roquan Smith based on what you just said.
Sure.
As much as I agree with you, and I want to keep Devin Bush, you could trade him as a package, and the reason why the Bears might want that is because they don't want to pay buco dollars for Roquan Smith, and sure, they're going to have to pay Devin Bush next year, but you're assuming, even if he has an even better year, you're not going to pay him as much as you're going to pay Roquan Smith. You're going to get a guy who's younger than Roquan Smith, and still has potential to be really good, and he's going to be cheaper as well. Not to mention, the Bears, through training camp practices, have lost a lot of receivers. They have Darnell Mooney, and then after that, their next three guys, I think, are all injured for a while. And they don't have any receivers. So a lot of people have mentioned the possibility of sending them Claypool, especially with how Pickens has been playing in training camp. Now, I do think that is a little brash because Pickens hasn't even played a down in football. He will tomorrow, but he hasn't played a down yet. So I think it's a little crazy to just want to get rid of Claypool that fast. But that is incentive to maybe have the Bears pull a trigger on a trade because they need a receiver. They really do. And Claypool's a big body guy, and that's really helpful for a young quarterback like Justin Fields. In other ways that could potentially work, too, is like you said, because we would have to pay Roquan Smith if we traded for him. The reason why that could be okay, to play devil's advocate, is we're investing all of our time into our defense, into the idea that the defense will carry us to a championship completely. I don't know if that works today in today's NFL. It worked for us in 2008. Some offenses are huge powerhouses, so I agree with you that maybe money should go elsewhere, like maybe offensive line or somewhere else. But the idea could be, hey, if we get Roquan Smith and he plays at an all-pro level with all the other guys out there, besides maybe defensive back, because I'm still not sold on our cornerbacks, that if we can only let up 13 to 16 points a game, the hope is that our offense can score at least that, and that would be the recipe for success there, especially since you would sign Roquan for like maybe a 3-year deal afterwards, at most, I think. So that would be devil's advocate to like maybe do it, is to really just like have your defense locked in for a championship run, and then hoping that your offense can score a little bit more than what their average they're going to give up, which I'd assume would be low.
Right. And I think the idea behind it would be really awesome. And going back to that 2008 team, right? Like that was unbelievable defense. Like they were so good. Even though we have the talent, the individual talent on this roster, we don't know how that's going to play out as the, kind of my counter argument to that. Plus, right. Our offense wasn't anything special, but like that was like the line, man. Like look, like we had Ben. We had Hines Ward, we had Santonio Holmes, like we had like Heath Miller. Like realistically, it was the line, I feel like, for that 2008 roster. And I feel like we have talent again on that offense. I don't know if it's just like we'll transition, especially knowing how hard other teams are in the NFL, surrounding us too. So I don't know. I will say touch on the Claypool thing a little bit too, because like I agree with you, but I feel like so many Yinzers are very like short-term memory people because they're like, what happened in the most recent season? That's how we'll define each player. Like, God, look at Ben. He did not have a good year. We know that he was out. We know that he was, deteriorating. But at the same time, like people forget all the things that he did, whatever, and they're like, yeah, Big Ben, he's just a bad quarterback. Always has been a bad quarterback. It's just like, dude, what? Like, I think Claypool had for a rookie, a really good year, right? And then obviously a deteriorating core. Yeah, exactly. And now moving him to the slot, which you have said multiple times should be like the ideal spot for him. dude, Claypool could go off this next year, you know?
Totally.
So
I think so too. Because like I said, from the slot, I mean, him paired up with a linebacker or a slot cornerback should be a matchup nightmare for people. And and I know a lot of you guys want Claypool gone and you're sick of Claypool and whatever. I am excited to see how he moves on from last year. Especially, I know he's got Brandon Marshall as a mentor now. And if he plays a lot of things from the slot, I think it's going to work out really well for him. And just like on paper too, offensively, I mean, you know, we don't really know how the quarterbacks are going to play. We're hoping Mitch is going to play well as a starter or whoever our starter may be. But as a quarterback, I mean, Deontay on the outside who runs great routes and has great separation. Pickens, who if he plays like he does in training camp on the other outside, who is just catching everything in traffic. Claypool in the slot, who should dominate everybody who's in the slot. Freiermuth over the middle of the field, who's a big pass catching target. Calvin Austin, if he's the fourth spot, who is super, super quick. Those are all your passing options on like a 5 receiver option. And then Najee out of the backfield as a security blanket. I mean, you should be very like pleased as a quarterback for the Steelers to be like, okay, I'm going to have somebody here. You know, I'm going to have somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So that's out there. That's an option. I know Ravens fans want Roquan Smith. I hope that doesn't happen. So I hope he either like goes to somebody random, not the AFC, please. We've got enough people in the AFC. Just if you're gonna go to the NFC, or stay on the Bears, or if you're gonna go to the AFC, I guess come to us and we'll see what we give up.
Would it surprise you though? You know what I mean?
No.
Like I feel not necessarily the AFC thing, but like, oh my gosh, I feel like whenever a big name comes out, they're always like, yeah, Roquan Smith, really excited to hopefully join the Browns, and you're like, why? Or like, man, like both, or we get like the teams talking to this player are the Ravens, Bengals, and Browns, and we're like, dude, why is it everyone in our division and not us? Like, I feel like that's always how it goes.
Yeah, the Ravens are always looking for bigger numbers, and honestly, he fits our bill, but the Ravens are a very similar team to us, so he fits the Ravens' bill too on what they want to do. And the Ravens, after Patrick Queen, I think it's Tyus Bowser is their other middle linebacker, who is okay. He's not terrible. Not he's okay. But I mean, Patrick Queen and Roquan would be a solid duo for them.
Oh, for sure.
Solid. And they already, in my opinion, have probably the best secondary in the NFL, for sure the AFC.
Yeah.
And then a pretty stout defensive line. I mean, that would be the same recipe for them, is like, hey, we're going to have a defense that's not going to give up any points, but on their situation, Lamar can score a lot of points. So, in a way, if I was the Ravens, I would actually make that trade, because you might secure your spot as a Super Bowl contender easily.
I totally agree with you. I mean, especially since they're getting like 5 running backs back that all tore their ACL last season. Like,
right.
Like, I mean, I feel like if there's a time to cash in as the Baltimore Ravens, it is probably now. So like, find that one piece where you're like, we're really not that good, and go get them, especially if you're trying to win a championship right now.
Because if they give up a first round pick for Roquan, I don't think that's a bad move for them, because I think I feel like the Roquan trade for them could lead them to a Super Bowl title, and then you're giving up a 32nd spot in the draft. Who cares? That's fine.
Yeah, for real. I mean, you might as well draft in the second round at that point anyway. So
right, totally.
Whatever.
So that's the Roquan news. We'll see how that pans out. We're recording on a Friday. Normally we record on a Wednesday, but busy schedules have led us to delay it, which is fine, because last night was the first couple, not counting the Hall of Fame game, because that game sucks, but it was the first couple preseason games were on last night. It was the Giants and Patriots, and the Ravens and Titans. And that was, it was fun to finally watch some football. I had both my phone out and my laptop out, and I was checking on the players and scores. I had a lot of people I wanted to watch from the Giants. Unfortunately, it was not that fun to watch, but I had a lot of people I wanted to watch. Do you mind if I detail it for you?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
I won't go too into it because this is a Steelers podcast, but I do. But Chris and I are also football fans, so I get excited about like the other players playing in the games. And the Giants got a lot of great rookies. They drafted Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau, and Evan Neal last night did not look that good, Chris. He was getting beat a lot. He was getting pushed backwards a lot. So it could be a first time game jitters. You never know. But he didn't look that great, which is unfortunate for a top 5 pick or top 6 pick whenever they draft him. 7, top 7. And then Kayvon, I heard so many good things about him in practice. I don't think Azeez Ojulari was playing yesterday, so which would help him to have both on either side. But he just didn't even have time to make a play at all. The cornerbacks that were playing for the Giants yesterday were so kind of garbage that the Patriots threw quick passes right away. He didn't even have a chance to make a play. I also didn't realize that the Giants drafted Darian Beavers, who was a middle linebacker you and I wanted us to draft.
Yeah.
He did all right. He made some tackles up the middle, had some runs, but nothing flashed really. Like nothing was crazy impressive.
Sure.
The Giants also drafted Wan'Dale Robinson, a receiver you and I scouted that we liked, even though we got 2 guys we liked. We heard that he was going off in training camp. He didn't get a target. Kadarius Toney didn't get a target. I wanted to watch him. And Saquon Barkley actually got to play in the game, and they didn't really use him that much. Like a couple of runs here and there that it didn't go far because the offensive line sucks. A pass that did okay, but I didn't really use him that much again, and it was kind of in the theme of last year, so it was kind of disappointing. I was really excited to watch the Giants. It was honestly a little disappointing to watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
The other game, I guess you wanted to know about Pierre Strong. Patriots.
I was just gonna touch on a little bit too, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, no, and then on the other side, for the Pats, having Pierre Strong, running back out of South Dakota State, that's my alum school, however you say what that is.
Right.
But I mean, he was the leading rusher, which isn't saying much since I think he had 6 carries for 25 yards. I did send Dom a fanboy video of him having a really great run, which Dom pointed out immediately that there was a really big hole for him to run. But you know what? I think if he didn't see that hole, it wouldn't have happened. So I think, it's 90% Pierre Strong being that good, and then 10% the team. And I might just be giving him too much credit for that. But go big, go blue, go Jacks. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, so there wasn't a lot of people to watch on the Patriots side of the ball, but obviously you have that school connection, so that was nice to see. I know they have a guy named, what's his name? Tyquan Thornton, I think. I think his first name's Tyquan. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I've heard good things from him out of camp. He's very fast. He did catch a touchdown. And also the Patriots drafted a rookie quarterback, Bailey Zapp. He threw a lot. He played a lot, so he did pretty good. I think he had 100, maybe 50 plus yards. I could be wrong on that. He had a touchdown. He also threw a pick later. So he did all right for sure against their team. But that's not really who I'm going to compare our quarterback to. It's going to be to the other game, to the Titans and Ravens game.
Go for it.
I kind of forgot the Ravens had Linderbaum and Kyle Hamilton, and I didn't really watch them, to be honest. Kyle Hamilton did recover a fumble, but he didn't register a tackle. I didn't really see too much out of him, and I didn't watch Linderbaum at all. But the Ravens were running well. They always run well. Lamar did not play. Tyler Huntley played. But on the Titans side, Malik Willis played the whole first half and a little bit into the third quarter. He was
wow.
Yeah, he played well. The thing is like I want to compare and contrast, his game to Kenny's game, obviously, because he was an option could have drafted. But it's going to be kind of tough to do because, like I said, Malik played a whole first half and a little bit of the third quarter, and Kenny's going to play only the fourth quarter in this upcoming game. So it's going to be kind of like tough to judge those things. But Malik Willis' stats, regardless, he was 6 for 11 for 107 yards, 9.7 yard average. He was sacked twice for 13 yards, but he had a rushing touchdown, and he had 5 carries for 38 yards rushing. Longest was a 17-yard rush.
Oh, yeah.
He for his 6 completions, one of his passes was a big 48-yard bomb. People are hyping him up a lot. A lot of people like Malik Willis online. The receiver 1 was wide open. 2, it was a little underthrown because the guy had to stop running and fall over to catch it. He had a nice sidearm pass. His rushing touchdown was good. Both his sacks were. He took a sack before halftime. That was pretty bad. They should have threw the ball away. It was like a big rookie moment. His very first drive, he started out 0-3, almost threw a pick 6 on his third pass. But then he kind of caught on fire after that. And then in the third quarter, he had a really, really nice 17-yard run where he skipped the pocket. And then I guess Vrabel pulled him because he said that he wants him to throw the ball more, and he wasn't throwing it, so he put in his other guy. But he did well. He got like a 17-yard gain, so that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But all in all, I feel like he played pretty decent. His stats aren't really huge, though, especially for a guy who played a whole first half and a little bit of third quarter, because his backup, something Woodside, he was 14 for 24, 102 yards. He threw 2 picks, but he almost had the same amount of yards, although he completed more than twice the amount of completions. Threw for more pass attempts, too.
Yeah.
So his numbers don't, I guess, jump off the page. But he did pretty good. Not bad.
And I think the thing that's going to be really interesting and kind of unfortunate is the fact that I think from this point on, Kenny Pickett is always, always, always going to have Malik Willis as a comparison, throughout the entire career, because, everyone was very high on the Willis train. They really wanted him, but there was a lot of people that were really high on the Pickett train as well. And especially since Willis didn't go to the third round, I think is when he went.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, especially after watching him in the first preseason game, granted it's preseason, people can calm down a little bit, but now anytime Kenny goes out there or whatever, it's going to be a constant comparison to how he plays versus Malik Willis. And, moving in, go for it.
I was going to say he'll be compared until there is a clear separation. Not to say Malik can't start, but I hope Kenny kind of starts before Malik. You never know, though, with Ryan Tannehill plays. And it could be a similar situation to Andrew Luck and RG3. They were compared because they were drafted the same year. They were compared a lot until eventually Andrew Luck was the clear front runner and RG3 kind of fell behind. So it could be a similar situation to that as well.
This is good. Okay, but let me preface this because this is going to be a big, wow, Chris, this shouldn't even be a close comparison, but I really hope this doesn't pan out to be the Dan Marino, Neil O'Donnell kind of thing. You know what I mean? Or were they at the same time?
No, we didn't draft Dan Marino because we had Neil O'Donnell. They didn't like him.
Fair enough.
We drafted. I don't remember his name. I just know his nickname. We drafted a Senior Sack. Then he got in a car accident after his rookie season, and then never played again.
Yeah, guy.
Not to bum you out, but that's happened.
No, that's okay.
But I'm not trying to say with the Kenny Pickett because when he was coming out, I know they're from the same school. They're not. I don't know if they're the same caliber player, but I was a little nervous that I hope they don't miss out on a Dan Marino again by not drafting Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
But time will tell if that works out for him. He's been improving in training camp. I'm excited to watch him play, even if it's just the fourth quarter. I'm excited to watch him play. The Titan, but that was Malik's thing, so we'll compare that next week, and we'll talk about even though the sample size won't be the same at all, but we'll talk about it. We'll try to compare. Treylon Burks really didn't do much, unfortunately. I think he had a couple targets. Let me go back to the stats for that real quick. My boy Hassan Haskins had some running too. Hassan Haskins had 6 carries for 19 yards. Did better receiving, I think. Yeah, 3 receptions for 29 yards. Burks had 1 target, no catches. So he didn't really get the ball at all. I think he had a jet sweep once. So that's unfortunate because he's supposed to be really good. So it's one of those things where I was so excited to watch all these players, and besides Malik Willis, none of them really did anything. Which makes me a little nervous for our game because we're all very excited to watch George Pickens and then watch no one throw him the ball.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I was going to say, earlier too, like something that I feel like I always have to remind myself is that it is preseason, right? Like we are so excited to watch these guys, and we've heard so many great things. But like you said, watch as Pickens doesn't get the ball. Watch as like these guys don't make the plays. I feel like there's been so many years before to where we'll hear more of like huge plays by a lot of no-namers, and then I feel like the trend is they still won't make the team, and then it's just like, oh, like it was someone I was rooting for or something like that. But right. I feel like it's very, very hit or miss. People are going to go in, they're going to go up against different sorts of talents, whether it's first through fourth stringers or something like that. So I feel like sometimes preseason can be very underwhelming. I hope there's a lot of cool flashes and things like that. But like I'm also trying not to get too overly excited just on that chance that, the people we're looking for maybe don't get that opportunity just because, right. People are switching all the time, trying to get like people to play and whatever. So we'll see what happens.
Preseason games tonight, I'm also excited about. I'll touch on those briefly because as again, we're football fans. Probably one of the biggest ones I'll be watching. There's two big ones I'll be watching, and luckily they're pretty far apart in time. The first one being the Browns and Jaguars. I will be watching that because Deshaun Watson will be playing, unfortunately, because his suspension doesn't take place yet. So I'll be watching him with the first team to see how he does with the Browns, and also with the Jaguars because Trevor Lawrence is going to play. I'm hoping he improved. Actually, he's got a lot of receiver weapons. I want to see how that goes with his first team offense if they're improving, especially because the Browns defense is pretty good. So I hope Trevor Lawrence can kind of like carve him up, and also if Travis Etienne, I think that's how you pronounce that, if he's playing.
It'd be nice to actually watch him play because we have no idea how his talent's going to translate to the NFL. Right. And he was someone who was heavily compared to Najee in last year's draft, being like, who's the better running back? Like, who could go first? So I'm kind of excited to watch Etienne play, or Etienne, or however you say his last name.
I think both of those I'm excited about. Mostly for those two games, they're just the first teams. I don't really care about any of the second teams on either of those teams. Because you could say, oh, what about you could watch Brissett and see how he's going to play. I've seen Brissett play a billion times. I don't need to watch Brissett play for the Browns. I don't really care. Then you got the Jets and Eagles. Could be a fun one. So I don't know who's starting for. I don't know if the Eagles are starting. Why don't I go look that up while I'm talking to you? But for the Jets, if Zach Wilson is starting, you got Zach Wilson. You got Garrett Wilson. You have what's the running back? Is it Brees?
Brees Hall.
Yeah, who's potentially a third stringer, so he'll be playing eventually down the line. They also got they had a really Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner. I mean, tons and tons of dudes there to potentially watch in that game, which will also be a really fun game to watch. It's
going to be super exciting.
And the Eagles, if Jalen Hurts plays, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. That trio, how's that going to do? Even if it's just for a drive, are they going to go? Are they just going to drive down the field and like smoke them? Mm-hmm. That'd be impressive, especially since Sauce Gardner's going to be covering one of them.
Yeah, and that'll be really interesting. It'd be kind of cool to see Devontae Smith and Sauce Gardner up against each other.
Yep. Looks like Zach Wilson will be playing, which is great. Oh, also Eagles, Jordan Davis, watching him play.
Oh yeah.
And
not only him.
Yep.
But the guy who should have went first round, who went to the third, I can't even think of his name. Nakobe Dean. Yeah. And I've heard really, really good things about Nakobe Dean. Honestly, I've seen a lot of praise for him.
So that has a lot of great players to watch that one too. That one's at 6:30 our Central Time. So a little bit after the Browns Chiefs one. There's also Falcons and Lions. That one's on at 5 today Central Time. First one, which will be easy to watch. I only care about I think for the Falcons, Drake London, Desmond Ridder, another quarterback to compare Kenny Pickett to. Mm-hmm. See how Kyle Pitts improves with them. Otherwise, I don't care about anybody else on that team. Lions, Jamison Williams, and Aiden Hutchinson. And then after that, I don't really care about anybody else. Unless you can think of somebody.
No, I just have a question because you said Jamison Williams, and I can't remember if it was him or not. But wasn't there a rookie wide receiver who got diagnosed with leukemia who's out for the season?
That was the other Alabama guy. What was his name? John Mechie. John Mechie the third.
Oh, John Mechie. That's right. Where did he go again?
Yeah. I want to say the Broncos. No, Texans.
Texans. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, Aiden Hutchinson and Jamal Williams. Those guys will be fun to watch. I'm just trying to make sure these guys are actually playing before I'm just spouting off whatever.
I would hope they would, unless they're injury bearing, their play.
Right.
I would expect any of the rookies to be playing in the preseason games.
Because I haven't kept up with those guys, but I guess on paper, I'll say that the Cardinals and Bengals game I actually really don't care about at all. I guess Cardinals, you could say if their first team offense plays with Kyler, I don't even know if I doubt he will. I guess you could say how will they do against the Bengals first team? But both those teams didn't really get a lot of players. I know Joe Burrow's not going to play, so that doesn't matter. I liked Zavon Collins last year, so maybe him. But I'm not going to focus on the game. There's other games I'd rather watch. So
yeah, for sure.
I'll catch highlights on that. Bengals, I don't really care, but they don't have anybody I really care about on their team either. And then tonight, 7:30 Central Time, Packers and Niners. For the Niners, Trey Lance, being that we're close to North Dakota and NDSU, I want to see how he does at his starting role. And he'll play against Jordan Love. And Jordan Love's been riding the bench for a while, so I'd like to see if he can improve. And then who's the other? The other NDSU guy, Christian Watson.
For the wide receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, see how he does as a receiver as well.
And yeah, I totally forgot about that because I didn't even remember him as a person because I haven't seen his name or anything at all. But I mean, why would I? I don't really follow much aside from, the Steelers stuff and whatever. But
yeah. So I think that's like the main thing. I was going to say that's probably like the main battle I'd watch in that game is the quarterbacks. The Packers also had Quay Walker, who you and I looked at for linebackers, who we didn't really necessarily like, but he went in the first round. So interested to see how he does. And they also took Devontae Wyatt on the line in the first round.
I was going to say, look out, because former Pittsburgh Steeler Ray McLeod had good things to say about Trey Lance. What was it? Comparing it or comparing him or saying he has the same energy as Josh Allen.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I forgot about Ray's there. So we got Ray too.
Yeah, we can watch Ray as well, but that'll be interesting too because I had to suffer through Trey Lance destroying my alma mater many times. So it'll be good to kind of see how he does and how it translates to the NFL. Finally, that he's getting that chance to play.
Yep. So those are some of the games tonight. A lot of ones actually. A couple there that I'll be watching a lot to see a lot of how the rookies play and the new players play. But let's preview our game against the Seattle Seahawks. Shall we?
Let's do it.
To start off the bat, I know a lot of people were really excited about Artie Burns playing and starting because he was supposed to start, and he would have gone up against George Pickens, and we were excited to watch Pickens destroy Artie Burns. Not because we don't like him as a person, but just we know how he can play. But he unfortunately is out. The Seahawks actually have a lot of people out. I think both starting cornerbacks, Artie Burns and Sidney Jones, are out. Starting linebacker's out. Marquise Goodwin, a receiver, he's out. And Rashad Penny, the starting running back, he's also out. So they're going to be really downscaled on that. I think Geno Smith is starting for them, and then Drew Lock. So, however, even though that Rashad Penny's out, they went off on us last year with Alex Collins, and they ran the ball over us. So I'm excited to see, hopefully, our run defense be a little stronger. We have a lot of people in the defensive line to be better. But I actually, Chris, I have made a list of players to watch. So if you're listening at home, I got a long list. Hopefully, you'll keep your attention for the whole game.
Dom, what's your list?
I will tell you what my list is. I also say that if you didn't know the quarterback situation, Mitch is starting, who's playing the first quarter. Then it's Mason, second and third, and Kenny Pickett in the fourth.
I will say, before you get into your list, just knowing the order of the quarterbacks, I selfishly really want it to be a close game because I want to see Kenny actually make some throws. And a part of me is scared that if we are winning by a lot, it's just going to be a lot of handoffs in that fourth quarter to end the game. So I don't know. I kind of hope it's a close game, or maybe that we're a little behind come the fourth quarter, so Kenny can throw it a little more.
I almost feel like in preseason that doesn't matter as much. I feel like they won't run out the clock. I think they would still throw it a lot because that is his chance to prove himself and show his talent. So I think they'd still play the game. It's almost like a brand new game in that fourth quarter with new players because they all are trying to make the roster spot.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
of course, if you're watching the Steelers game on Saturday, players to watch of the entire draft class we just had: Kenny, George Pickens, DeMarvin Leal, Calvin Austin, Connor Hayward, Mark Robinson, and Oladokin, but he's not playing. I'll let you know that right now.
Rip.
Yeah, it was a waste of a pick, to be honest. But the rest of those guys, we've heard all great things from them from camp. Every single one, besides Oladokin, who hasn't got a chance to play at all. You also got last year's class, or the past couple years' class. Did I put 2021 class on here? Hello, where is it? Did I do it?
But anyways, in last year's class, we have Najee Harris, we have Pat Freiermuth, we have Kendrick Green, we have Dan Moore Jr., we have Trey Norwood.
Yep. Those are probably the big ones to watch.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm Presley Harvin, of course. We can't forget about him.
Presley Harvin. Yep. Yeah, of course. So, yeah, Najee's not going to play, I don't think, because he's been injured for a while. But, yes, like you said, Kendrick Green in his guard position, how is he going to do? Freiermuth, I'm not sure if he's going to play either, but I love watching Freiermuth play. Trey Norwood, there's a good safety battle going on. How's he going to do, especially if he plays in the slot? And the lineman in general, Dan Moore, played decently last year as a rookie. So how's he going to do? You got the 2020 draft class, Claypool, who I don't think he's going to play, but a lot of people are kind of down on him. So it'd be nice to watch him play, especially if he plays in the slot. Alex Highsmith, who's continually getting better every year, trying to hit the double-digit sack mark. Because TJ Watt's not going to play. I'll tell you that right now. Anthony McFarland Jr., who's had a good camp and he's trying to make the team. That's not guaranteed. And Kevin Dotson, who had a great rookie year and then kind of a down year last year, to see how he does better. You got the 2019 draft class, Devin Bush, who, again, like Dotson, had a really down year last year, hoping that he can improve, like you touched on earlier with Brian Flores. Justin Lane, who I've heard has kind of been losing his spot at the cornerback position, but he was drafted 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I guess. So it'd be nice to see how if he can improve at all. Benny Snell, who's also trying to make a roster spot at running back, who's had a good camp, and Zach Gentry, who is potentially our second spot tight end, but to see if he actually can earn it, blocking wise and receiving wise. You got some undrafted free agents. Carlins Platel, cornerback. We've heard good things from him from training camp. James Pierre was an undrafted cornerback last year, but he did start, so it'd be nice to see how he can do improving wise. Delonte Scott is an edge rusher. We've heard great things about him from training camp. Chris Steele, another cornerback. I've heard great things about him. Jalen Warren, heard awesome things about him, running back out of there. So he's a short, stocky guy. We touched on how he's a cousin to Willie Parker. So it'll be nice to see him play. And Mateo Durant, we actually haven't seen a lot, but he's a running back trying to make a spot. So you can watch for those too. We also got free agent-wise, we got, of course, Mitch Trubisky, Jannard Avery, Miles Boykin, Mason Cole, James Daniels, Miles Jack, DeMonte Kazi, Larry Ogunjobi, Gunner, Tuzar Skipper, Levi Wallace, Doug Costin, Carl Joseph, and Master Teague. Tons and tons of players to watch.
I think this is the first time ever. It's every year in the preseason, we always have a ton of people to watch because of undrafted free agents, things like that. But I am so excited just because of the actual free agents that we picked up and all the moves that we actually did in the offseason. Holy heck, man, there's so many people to watch and take notes on and just kind of see how they do. I think that aside from the quarterback battle, realistically, the people I'm most excited about are I really, really have heard good things about DeMarvin Leal. I'm super excited to watch him play. I hope he can be super dominant in there. Jalen Warren, like you said before, I've heard great things about him too. It'd be awesome to see Mateo Durant, but I think I'm a little more excited about Warren. And then just a lot of our free agent pickups, from the offseason. I think I'm ready, man. I'm ready for football, dude. I'm ready for Steelers football.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Even from not the new player standpoint, but like like you said, Brian Flores, how the defense is going to respond. A new defensive coordinator, obviously, in Terrell Austin. How the defense is going to play. We've heard good things about them. How the offense is going to look. Our first look at a Matt Canada offense. Is that going to be fun to watch, or is it going to be very frustrating to watch? A lot of things to really look at. A bunch of playmakers. We're ready to go. And like we said, it's not really about who wins, but just trying to check in all the bright spots of the teams to see who can potentially make the roster. And we will be back next week to review that game. We'll watch some highlights on it. We'll talk about it, and we'll preview the next game after that. But for now, we'll be signing off. We're excited to watch some more football, just like all of you. We'll see you guys next week. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Grubhub. Perfect. My name is Dominic. This is Chris, as always, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.
Peace.